We have with us Heer Chokshi, Vice President, Development Sector Lead at Edelman. He leads the development sector purpose and sustainability mandates at Edelman and brings 20 plus years of communication experience. Welcome back to the Logical Indian. I am Apurwa Shrivastava. Heer, thank you so much for taking out time to talk to us today.
Happy to be here, Apurwa.
There is always a lot of back and forth happening between government agencies, brands, and customers. How can these continuous transactions become more collaborative to harness a synergy that can produce maximum positive impact on the communities?
So see, we are almost 9 years away from achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of the experts are calling this as the decade of action. There are chances that parts of Asia and India may miss achieving some of these goals. And it's critical now, even more than ever, especially post-COVID, that stakeholders come together to invest and to address the multiple issues that still exist and improve systems and address the challenges that we have had, which are systemic in nature. But on the other hand, the good news is that we are seeing that a lot of corporates, governments, civil society are coming together.
Brands have more often than not been successful trendsetters and tastemakers. Taking a cue, how do you think can brands change behavioral norms of the customers in terms of more sustainable, socially conscious consumption habit?
See, advertising and brand campaigns have the power to mold cultural norms. They have the ability to change what is called normative and create positive attitudes, right? In the last decade, especially, we have seen brands becoming more aware and cognizant of this, and some are even going beyond, what the brand stands for, right? For example, we are looking at cosmetic and beauty brands that are changing the narrative around real beauty. They're changing stereotypes. Home appliances brands are redefining gender roles. We are seeing brands becoming trendsetters and, like you said, tastemakers, and beginning to change behavioral norms, beginning to look at sustainable consumptions, and somewhere even educating their consumers on the same.
So we have seen over time a world-class ecosystem of brand campaigns creating many hubs of social initiatives. What does it take for a brand to create a response which is exponential in terms of its impact on the demographic dividend outside of the urban?
See, for exponential impact, achieving scale is going to be very important. And to do that, one of the ways is to reduce duplication in efforts, right? Best practices are available galore. What is needed is that CSR initiatives or corporate purpose-driven initiatives don't end up reinventing the wheel. There is a need for CSR fund pooling, and we're seeing that happen. We are looking at the rise in co-investments, co-commitments, where corporates, philanthropies are coming together with civil societies and experts and research and academia to address issues that are systemic. What we are also seeing is that there is an increased attention to entrepreneurship, be it among women, be it in rural youth, an increased focus on skilling. And I believe that this will help address the divide between the urban and the rural youth and what they have, and will help us achieve the demographic dividend.
Right. So 2020 was a year when brands resoundingly responded to the COVID-19 crisis as it took the center stage. However, I am interested to know what you think about the other problems that we've been neglecting, such as climate change and other social issues.
So during COVID, yes, corporates have raised to the occasion. They've addressed issues like provision of food, provision of health and sanitation kits. But we also see that there is a rise in other investments in other issues. So for example, recently, the need for investments in agriculture has suddenly gone up. We've recently seen various announcements in agri-tech, in edu-tech, even in health tech. And for example, solutions for water and sanitation and hygiene have also gone up. And corporates are playing a huge role in some of those investments. In fact, post-COVID, what we've also seen is a rise in purpose-driven campaigns, purpose-driven businesses, and corporates ensuring that they achieve their ESG commitments, the environmental, societal, and governance-related commitments.
So the post-pandemic world has altered the space within which the brands conventionally operated. We have witnessed major survival anxiety in the market with economic slowdown and other setbacks. While brands continue to brave these challenges, how can value be created, with resource crunch and closed spaces, especially for small businesses and MSMEs?
So, COVID made us realize 2 or 3 very critical things. One is how fragile our economic and development models have been, how neglected some of these sectors have been. For example, the informal sector workers like migrants, child labor, domestic workers, homemakers. It also has thrown up how we need to rethink the agri sector also. However, the solution is, I think, in focusing our efforts in improving systems and value chains and the people within them. For example, if there's a corporate, it's a large industry, they need to take care of their factory workers, their families, the environment in which they live in, the socio-cultural issues that the communities face, right? For distributors and marketers, for example, there is a need to support skilling or access to finance, or to ensure that they have steady supplies so they don't run out of their earnings. For employees, on the other hand, it is critical to look at working conditions, to look at opportunities for mentorship, skilling, and growth within organizations. Gender equity and diversity have also become issues that matter today. And for example, at the CXO level, at the boards, are looking how do they improve on corporate governance? How can women leadership come into play? So there is this concerted effort to improve systems and the value chain. And if we continue on that road, corporates, I think, will be able to make a dent in addressing issues, both, let's say, for smaller businesses, for MSMEs, and for people within the value chain.
So my next is on the gap between intent and implementation. If you agree, if at all you agree that there may be a gap between intent and implementation at some point, what could be the possible challenges, if you can speak on behalf of all stakeholders in bridging that gap?
See, one of course is, while it is slow, we are seeing an increased trend globally and in India to some extent, where the brand say and the brand do are almost reflective of each other or are merging. Right? There is a growing realization also that one stakeholder itself cannot address the issue alone. There is a need to collaborate. There is a need to bring expertise of different stakeholders. So, for example, what the civil society can bring, what academia can bring, what governments can bring, and what corporates can bring, and what, let's say, social innovators can bring. And how do you put all of that together and address a solution? Yes, there are challenges because of the way every stakeholder is functioning, the expertise that they bring on board. But there is more collaboration today, and if that continues, the gap between intent and implementation will be reduced to a great extent.
So India's economy is majorly fueled by the cluster of young enterprises. There is a startup boom in the country with young minds aggressively at work. A few decades down the line, we can probably hope to see the rise of towering brands. Do you think young innovators should think about social problems before ideation to make their innovations more inclusive in nature?
Right. In fact, it's a great point, because we're seeing a rise in social impact. And this is because, if you look at the young today, the millennials and post that, the Gen Zs, they are very passionate about not just, earning well, etc., but also are very cued into what challenges are there in the society. And many of them are taking the initiative to solve some of these. So sometimes what they lack in experience, they make it up for in passion, right? What, however, is needed is that we help startups, especially in the social innovation space, reduce the challenges and make their lab to market journey more shorter and successful. In fact, as part of the India 2022 coalition, I know that the likes of Shell, Tata Trust, Zinto, everybody is coming together, and they've created something called the Stages of Development Framework. So the framework is a planning tool that helps startups realize if they're interested in rural transformation, how do you take care of or consider different data points that will help your innovation succeed. For example, Infosys Foundation does the Arohan Awards that is encouraging innovations in the social sector, right? For example, Microsoft has started the health tech startups, which enables virtual medical consultation, software solutions for medical facilities, e-commerce for medicines, etc. Or food delivery companies are looking at arriving at new technologies to recycle, reuse the food grade packaging and see if it can be applicable to others. And I believe that social innovation is going to provide, in this decade of action, the catalytic drive so that we can achieve some of the issues and address some of the issues that we have.
Can you name a few of the social or CSR initiatives which you found to be effective or extraordinary that have resulted in some significant change or impact, something which can serve as a good model for other corporates trying to figure out what else can be done effectively in this space?
So there are different ways in which corporates can contribute to addressing social and sustainable issues. One is looking at their purpose and ensuring that sustainability is embedded within their entire value chain. The second is, in all the ESG commitments that they've made, they live up to it. A case in point, for example, Infosys has reduced its per capita energy consumption since 2008 to about 50%. Or they're trying to recycle their entire, almost 100% of water in their campuses. The foundation, on the other hand, is working with, communities to extend drinking water supply or looking at how do you recharge your existing water bodies to support livelihoods. On the other hand, for example, globally, IKEA recently announced, Buyback Friday, which saw where retailers buy back all IKEA furniture from people to give it a second life. Or Ajinomoto, for example, did a campaign where Asian restaurants, to combat racism stemming from COVID-19 through the campaign of, take out hate. We also see a whole lot of corporates that are going beyond the 2% CSR, like I said.
So in the global context, since Edelman is operating in so many parts of the world, how well has India been doing? Is there something for us to sort of learn from other countries in the corporate social space? Any difference that you may have noted in the manner that we operate or execute or pursue?
So what we see is that globally, yes, a lot of the corporates are becoming much more aware and are investing in issues that matter. And like I said, they're truly living their purpose. There have been companies that focus on sustainable consumption and clothing companies that are, asking consumers not to buy their own products. And in this way, ensuring that the trust on brands actually go up, right? India is yet to mature, that there is this concerted effort to invest in issues that need to be solved. We are also seeing corporates bring in, their expertise in addressing some of these issues. So, for example, tech companies are working with civil society organizations to address issues that can be solved through digital technologies. So, yes, the Indian corporate world is also maturing. Some have done it, and there is still way to go for the others.
Thank you so much, Heer, for taking our time today. It was a wonderful conversation.
I believe that most campaigns that Logical Indian does are extremely sensitive, have the right approach to addressing the issue, are emphatic, as well as are very conscious in ensuring that they take the right stance. So I wish Logical Indian the very best to continue doing this